Among the various activities in which the Conservation Corps is engaged, none perhaps more affects the national welfare than their work on erosion control. Experts tell us that 35 million of our cultivated lands have been practically washed away. This great mass of soil washed into our streams and rivers swells the volume of floods and increases their damage and fills reservoirs and irrigation ditches. Controlling erosion is therefore one means of controlling floods. These scenes show how one type of erosion has ruined southern cottonland, once rich and productive. This extensive waste of national wealth is largely due to human ignorance and carelessness. The virgin forest is its own protection against erosion. The thick blanket of rotting leaves or needles checks the runoff, while the matted roots below tend to prevent soil washing. Logging operations, improperly conducted, destroy this forest cover and lay the soil open to the action of floodwaters. Clearing land for farm use has much the same effect as logging, since it destroys the natural cover that protects the virgin soil. Extensive erosion has been caused by the clearing of land too steep for cultivation. The result of such ill-advised clearing is shown here. Single crop farming is a common practice that leads to great loss by erosion. Whenever a crop like cotton is grown on the same land year after year, the land becomes increasingly subject to washing. This is a common sight in old cotton ground. Highway culverts built without regard to the lay of the land may also cause erosion. Still another, and in many regions a major factor, is the practice of burning off both fields and woodlands each year. Fires destroy humus in the soil and subject it to the cutting action of running water. Each year, 100,000 acres of American farmlands are rendered worthless by erosion. Fields below eroded areas are frequently ruined by sand washed down from above. Homes are often undermined by gullies. This is not an unusual sight in badly eroded areas. Here is a rural graveyard doomed to destruction by erosion. It is perched on the edge of an abyss into which it must surely fall before many years are passed. In the last stage of destruction by erosion, we have enormous gashes in the surface of the earth, like the Big Hammer Gully in Mississippi, pictured here. More striking yet is the great gully at Lumpkin in Georgia, which is 9 miles long, enclosing a system of deep gorges in which many once productive farms have been swallowed. Similar destruction that the CCC has undertaken erosion control in badly eroded areas. It is a big job, but not hopeless. Even gullies like this may be controlled, but the land is now beyond reclamation for farming. In many areas where terracing is practiced, the members of the Corps build dams to check the runoff from the terraces. This scene shows Conservation Corps boys excavating for such a check dam. Here we see the workmen laying the foundations of the wall and apron. Native stone is used in this case because it is the cheapest material available. This is the completed check dam, with Conservation Corps boys building wings to direct floodwaters over the dam. Here is a Texas farmstead that was threatened with destruction by a gully and is now protected by check dams. The gully started in an old lane. Here we see a long terrace during a torrential rain, showing the check dam discharging at the end of the terrace. Another series of well-built check dams photographed during the same rain. Just across the road at the same moment, this open ditch without check dams was swept by a raging torrent, carrying a burden of rich Texas soil toward the Gulf of Mexico. In the southern Piedmont country, check dams are built of native timber. After the logs have been put in place and the supporting stakes have been driven, an apron is made of straw and brush to take the impact of water flowing over the dam. The apron is staked down, the earth about it is tamped hard, and the dam is completed. After one rain of the gully washer type, these dams may be almost filled with trapped silt, and the slow process of reclamation of the gully is well begun. Here is a large gully, properly treated with adequate check dams and side slope to facilitate a catch of vegetation. The next step in the reclamation of the gully is the planting of suitable trees and vines to protect the sides from washing. This scene shows CCC boys planting black locust seedlings. The black locust is a hardy, rapid-growing tree with an extensive root system and is well adapted for this purpose. Another very useful cover plant is the Japanese honeysuckle. This vine now grows wild throughout the southern seaboard, and plants are easily obtained almost anywhere. Here we see a group of boys planting honeysuckle on the sides of a gully. A planting of black locust showing the size of the seedlings used. This gully was properly sloped and planted. Just how effective planting of black locust may be is shown by this stand of 4-year-old locust in western Tennessee. 4 years after dams were built and seedlings planted, the reclamation of this gully is well advanced. The material of the original brush dams is now rotted, but grass has gained a foothold in the soil anchored by the roots of the locust trees, and erosion is checked. Thus, this great work of checking erosion goes forward. In some instances, operations of considerable magnitude are involved, as for example in the reclamation of the Great Hammer Gully, already mentioned. This gully, started only 40 years ago, is now 3,000 feet long, 215 feet wide, and 75 feet deep. Over 12 million cubic feet of earth has been washed from a one-time prosperous farm to ruin great areas of bottomland. Sand, many feet deep, now covers area at the mouth of this Big Hammer Gully. All these trees are dead, smothered by sand. Here we see hay and brush for check dam work being thrown down the side of the Hammer Gully. This shot gives some idea of the depth and magnitude of this so-called gully. It's more properly a canyon. Check dam construction practiced here differs in detail from that which we have already seen. Hay and brush are used to form the apron and the face of the dam. Stakes are driven to anchor the brush and to serve as a skeleton for the structure. Then chicken wire is stretched from stake to stake across the gully, and a mat of brush is packed against this fence on the upper side. Here the workmen are anchoring the apron, placing brush against the wire barrier, and putting the finishing touches on the dam. When the check dams have been finished, the edges of the gully on both sides are mined with dynamite. Then the blast. Hundreds of tons of earth are thrown into the gully by a series of shots that effectually begin the work of sloping off the sides of the gully to prepare for planting. Immediately, the boys begin the work of completing by hand the job roughed out by the dynamite. These well-seasoned boys rolling her down with bar and shovel, battle scene. With the spirit of crusaders for conservation, these boys slowly healing the scars caused by years of carelessness.